You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Doug Collins Podcast. Glad to have you with us today, Wednesday, middle of the week. Big news. Before we get to our show today, we're going to be talking about the end of Title 42, basically the massive border crisis that is developing and been developing ever since Biden took office 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now. It's tragic. I mean, what we're seeing here is, and we'll get into this more here in just a few minutes on the podcast. But again, folks, this is something you need to pay attention to. I don't care where you live and listen to this podcast. The border is something that affects you, whether you realize it or not. It does, and it's been said many times before. Every state now is a border state due to open border policies. And we're going to dive into this here in just a few minutes. But again, this is Wednesday, just breaking as of late yesterday. Donald Trump found guilty. Well, not guilty, found liable is the better way to put this. And be careful of that, because I'm glad I said that. He's found liable for sexual abuse and defamation in the case in New York, not rape. So that is breaking as I come on and tape today. So we'll probably have more to talk about that later as we go on in the process of, I'm sure, the week and how it progresses. And of course, he has already said he's appealing. So again, this is not going away. You'll see more about this issue as we move forward. Also, as we are in the countdown for debt ceiling relief, we're going to see how this all works out as the sides are lining up and posturing. I am pretty impressed right now, to be frank, that the Republicans are seemingly sticking together, both in the House and the Senate. If they can do so, if they can, and I've said this before, if they can get anything off of the list that they passed in the House, okay, this is the way, again, politics should work. If you pass a bill and say it has 5 things in it, these are the 5 things that you would like to see, and you go to the Senate, which is not controlled by your party, and they negotiate it out, or you negotiate with the White House and they pass it, and you get 2 of those things, and you have one sort of third of this, leg of legislative. This something should be really looked at as a victory. And I'm not trying to diminish or to lower expectations here, but I'm just being honest here that if you continue this path, you may not get anything, because pressure will rise and people will panic and they believe what they see in the headlines. So again, I'm hoping for the Republicans to come out with a victory, rally around that victory, and then get on to the real possible issues, which is the fact that all of this will be taken care of, or it should be taken care of in the appropriations process, where you can get extra benefit. Because again, when you actually spend the money is where you're actually dealing with your year-over-year deficits that lead to the $30 trillion debt. So again, we've talked about this before. We'll probably do a little bit more in this month as we look ahead to the debt ceiling issue coming up. But I wanted just to put that out there. At least they're meeting, the Big Four meeting this week, and then we'll see how that progresses. But for now, let's get on to the big story, and that is that on Thursday, Title 42 ends, and immigration, as we know it, is beginning to get worse. So here, after break, we'll be right back to talk more about immigration. Hey, everybody, you know about Legacy Precious Metals. Legacy Precious Metals, you hear from them. We talk once a month. We talk about Legacy Precious Metals, talking about precious metals being part of your portfolio, how they're your navigator. Well, now they're not only navigating in a new way, they're actually giving you a new way to buy gold and silver. In fact, Legacy Precious Metals has developed a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in real gold and silver online. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped to your door. I'm more of a ship to my door kind of person. I enjoy having them with me, but they can do it either way, and you can now do it online. It gives you real access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time, anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar. This puts you in complete control of your money.
This platform is free to sign up for. Just visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and is against a volatile stock market. A true diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but a different asset class. This platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Remember, do as I have done. Go to legacypminvestments.com and get started today. And now you've got a new tool to help you along in your investments. Hey folks, MyPillow is excited to bring to you their biggest bedding sale ever. For a limited time, you're going to get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98, a set of pillowcases for only $9.98, and rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. $99.99. Get a mattress pillow topper. Look, they come in all sizes. They got all kinds of stuff, blankets. They've got duvets. They got quilts. They got comforters. They got body pillows. They got bolster pillows. They got all that big discounts. And also, they're extending their money-back guarantee for Christmas until March 1, 2023, making them the perfect gift for your friends, your family, and for everyone you know. Folks, and just from a personal note here, I have the Giza Dream Sheets. They're on my bed right now. I slept on them last night. Some of the best sheets that we and Lisa and I have ever owned. They are worth, at this price, they're a steal. My wife and I have bought bed sheets, linens at much higher cost. It's supposedly much higher quality. These from MyPillow are at the highest of quality, and at a price like this, you can't beat it. So go now to mypillow.com, use promo code Collins, COLLINS, or call 1-800-986-3994, and you'll get huge discounts on all the MyPillow bedding products, including the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98, and get all your shopping done while qualities last. And remember, put in that promo code Collins for these discounts.
All right, let's get to this. Let's just lay out some basics here of things that we need to talk about here. Title 42 is ending. This was a program put in by Donald Trump during the pandemic to allow people to be turned away at the border or held across the border due to the health crisis that was going on. And this is unleashing a torrent or a flood, if you would. A border agent just said recently, the floodgates are opening when this happens. What it means is that they're going to be now, because the Biden administration has basically done away with any border open. It has an open border policy. Let me just put it the simplest way it is: open border policy. That now, with that restriction lifted, which was keeping people out, you're going to have more and more migrants pouring across the border. We've seen some staggering numbers this week, even before the deadline goes away tomorrow. About 8,000, 9,000 people a day. We're not even, and also these are ones that they're detaining for a short while and then putting out into the streets. Now, one of the issues that I want to sort of put this in perspective for you here is these are some just numbers that I've looked at, and you can see, and these are the from Customs and Border Protection enforcement statistics for fiscal year 23. So that was started last October, comes into where we're at now. There have been 1,500,000 roughly enforcement actions. I'm going to put this in perspective. I had a friend send this to me, so I'm going to just put it in some papers, because sometimes we just let numbers get away from us. We let, again, we hear a million, we hear a billion, we hear a trillion, pretty soon we're talking about real numbers. Well, let's think about this just in a funny way, because there's nothing funny about the immigration problem and the fact that Joe Biden and his administration chose to do nothing about it. But here's an interesting statistic. Let's say you're in New York and you want to talk pizza. 1,500,000 actions were so many that if they were pizzas, if each action was a pizza, they would stack over 94 miles high. That's enough to reach the edge of space. Now think about that. Look at the offices of total encounters. 478,000 is more than the population of Miami. Border Patrol total encounters, meanwhile, racked up a whopping 1 million, outnumbering the entire city of San Jose. It just gets worse. But when you describe this, the U.S. Border Patrol Southwest border only, and this is search and rescue efforts, folks. Search and rescue, where our folks are having to go out and find, and we've already seen a lot of migrants die on the other end of this. 12,751, which is nearly the seating capacity of Madison Square Garden. Again, the criminal arrests are staggering. Criminal non-citizens encountered 9,846, more than the number of Starbucks in the U.S. NCIC arrests, those with criminal backgrounds, 5,400. Total seizures, over $1 million. We're looking at drug seizures, off the chart, marijuana, and methamphetamine, fentanyl. This is all stuff that is just continuing to churn out here in our border because, frankly, the Biden administration has chose a open border policy. Now, you're saying, what does an open border policy mean? You say, well, Doug, they've still got border agents. But what's happening is they're allowing asylum seekers, and this is something that we also need to understand. Asylum seekers are those that fear imminent danger for their lives and well-being from the country and currently living in due to a discrimination or a attack, or however you want to put it, from the government and the environment itself. Okay. It's not just, I don't like to be here and I want to go, or I have a bad situation, I want to go. Your asylum should be that you're being sought out or you're being discriminated for a particular reason. And that should be, you have to prove this when you get here. Right now, again, the first step in that is that you do that in the first available country that you come through. So from Mexico, Canada, well, again, you're not going to see that many coming from either one because they don't meet the definition. But if you're passing through either one of those borders, then you come from another country, then you're not stopping in the closest approximate country to seek asylum in. This is where the Democrats like to play phonetics and word and get people all upset about it, saying, well, you're picking on these folks who are just trying to, they're tracing persecution, they're escaping this. Look, true asylum is things like Christians coming out of China, where you're seeing, we've always had a policy, especially with something like Cuba, or we've had, Venezuela, some others, where your stand in your country, where your position in your country, the minority position in your country, or something that has happened in your country puts you at a risk for your own life, or you're fearful for your own safety. As you look at this going through, this is something that's got to be fixed, because right now everyone is giving, basically the cartels, which we'll discuss here again in just a minute. The cartels have prepped the people that are paying them to get them across the border, and they know what to say. They're giving them little sheets of paper. They know the exact wording. I was on the border a few years ago, and it was interesting to me that people, when they actually got there, they all seemed to have the same type sticky pad with numbers and people's names written on them. And they all sort of had the same story. Just imagine, for instance, if you had, several thousand people coming across the border from different countries and different backgrounds. By the way, right now, almost every country in the world has been represented at our southern border. They know, the world knows this is a funnel, an entry point, and we've seen people on the terrorist watch list. There's just so much that is going wrong right now. But the Biden administration chooses to do nothing with it. In fact, John Pierre, the press secretary, just the other day said it's down 90%. She's just wrong. She's just lying to the American people, because they know this is a problem for them, and they don't have an answer for it. But they got to continue this policy for whoever in their voting base that they want to please, because, again, this is something that most Americans do not understand. Why are we prioritizing non-Americans in situations in which they are fleeing poor economic conditions, poor, probably safety issues is an issue, but it is an internal country issue, not one in which they are being, isolated or sought out because of a particular reason that asylum typically takes. When you understand this, it makes it all the more difficult to put into perspective how this is going to affect. And I want to spend just a few moments, talking about this. The issue is so bad that the non-governmental agencies, organizations, however, NGOs are full. They can't take any more of folks coming in. If you've been seeing across the country where they've been sending, Texas and others have been sending illegal immigrants to New York City, Chicago, even Eric Adams and Lori Lightfoot have been screaming, we don't have the resources. They don't have the places to put them. Now think about this for a second. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, the new governor there, has even wrote letters to about the situation in Arizona, in which, by the way, she took up the boxcars, or trailer, however you want to put them, that they were erecting on a fence line at the border, took those up. And now she's turning around and asking and saying that she's not getting enough help from the federal government to take care of this influx of aliens that have been coming through the border. Again, I wish I was making this up. I wish I was simply sitting here saying, this is a joke. This is a skit on a late night comedy show. It's not. They're actually sitting there saying, well, the government needs to come in and fix this, when their very own policies have helped create this and have been appeasing to the Biden administration for just letting the border stay open. What is even worse as you look at this is the situation that, and I said this in the opening and the intro. Let me just dive into this just a minute. Every location now in this country is a border town. Okay, let's just be fair. How do you say that? Well, and you may be living in a place where you don't have an influx of illegal immigrants coming into your city. You may be living out of a suburban area. You may be living further out in the country. But I tell you what you do see, and that is fentanyl. You see an increase in the fentanyl crisis all over the country. There was, and this idea that every city is, every place in the country is a border town was really brought forward by a Montana sheriff who said, look, he said, we're seeing fentanyl coming straight out of Mexico into their area. He said, we might as well be on the border. So this is where this comes from. It's not just me or conservatives sitting here, making this hyperbolic kind of the statement that says, every town's a border town. No, it's actually the ones that are actually enforcing the laws out there that are seeing this in their communities and their towns. This also leads us to an understanding. Now, an understanding is to get across the border and to get across up through Mexico and through wherever most of the people are coming. The cartels control this, and the cartels are into prostitution, drugs, sexual assault. The average, again, and this is just horrific to even think about, but they're most all women and young girls are raped, boys as well. They are molested. They are, there's just so much that is going on, trafficked. That is happening to them as they're coming up, and they're paying for this, and their families, which is heartbreaking about this. They're wanting to get their family members or kids to a better place, what they consider a better place, and as is the U.S. Is a better place in which you can have a chance to make a living, to earn a life, to get better, and you have to sympathize with that. And as a conservative, I sympathize with that. But there is a proper way to do this, and giving false hope is not a plan. And what is disturbing right now is that the cartels make the contract, and let's say it's $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000 to bring, quote, you into the United States. With the open border policy of the Biden administration, it is now the United States that is fulfilling that contract. Let me tell you how. If you used to have to pay the cartels to get you across the border and to get you freely into the United States away from being apprehended by the border agents. Nowadays, since they're not turning us a catch and release program, if you get across, they'll process you and then send you out into the country and release you. The border guards are basically fulfilling the second half of that contract. In other words, getting you into the country and then sending you across to different parts of the country while you, quote, await your hearing in immigration court. The cartels now, so in many ways, we're fulfilling the government, your United States government, with your tax dollars, is fulfilling the finalization of the contract. In other words, all the cartel has to do is get them to a border crossing at the river or at a crossing and send them over. That's all they do. And we're seeing this. Now, right now, again, you hear a lot about, and the White House and others want to talk about apprehensions. They want to talk about the drugs they seized and everything else. What they don't want to talk about is the 2 million gotaways. That's just the ones that we know of. We see the back of their heads going into the country because they do sensors or cameras, but we don't have enough people to get out there to stop them. So they're getting in. That also would go to effect of what they're carrying with them. Is it drugs? Are there other entry points? And again, please understand that whenever you hear about a big apprehension or a movement of a lot of people being caught at the border, more than likely, from what I've heard from border officials and others, is that means that at this point they know they're tying up enough border agents and border patrol folks in this one area that they can come off maybe 20 miles, 30 miles, or 50 miles up at a different part of the border, and they can bring in whatever they want to bring in. And they know they're not going to be bothered. Why? Because all the border patrol agents are tied up here with, a couple hundred or 500 or 1,000 people who are crossing the border. I don't get this. Okay. And lately, and one of the things that just came up this week is, and this was per, Custom Border Patrol sources, that the leadership in D.C. made the decision to authorize all Border Patrol sectors to begin safe mass releases of migrants to city streets if NGOs don't have the capacity to hold them. Think about that for a second. Mayorkas and the brass and the leadership of the from Homeland Security and the Community Border have said basically, if NGOs, these are your non-governmental organizations who are taking and processing people, trying to get them shelter, trying to get them food, if they don't have enough, then you're just going to release them to the streets. Okay. One, if I was in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott has been furious about this from the start, but let's take this into a bigger context. If they're not able to put them onto the streets there, or if they're able to put them on buses and send them further in, then the streets of El Paso, the streets, of Brownsville, and all these states are getting ready to be overrun. And where are they going to go? I mean, you talk about a safety issue. You talk about a national security issue. This is what we're seeing. And one of the this means that they're going to be dropped off at bus stops, gas stations, supermarkets, in cities and towns all across the border. The facilities are already over capacity and in multiple sectors, and the NGOs are approaching the limits. And we haven't gotten to Title 42 yet. Now, remember, that happens tomorrow. If you're listening to this podcast today on Wednesday, the 10th, this doesn't even happen till tomorrow. The street release will only happen if they don't have enough space, so it'll be different circumstances across the border. Some areas you're going to see this quicker. Some others, will be it maybe be slower if the NGOs have a little bit of space. In the last 10 days, riding up to this issue, so the last 10 days, 81,000 migrants stopped at border in last 10 days. 81,000. That's 8,000. Think about this. Y'all love to listen to the podcast. We talk about football all the time. In just the last 10 days, these are the ones that they've stopped. These are the ones that have actually been, quote, apprehended. Now, they're not being jailed. Most of them are not being kept because they don't have facilities. They're just trying to process them on through. 81,000. Sanford Stadium, my beloved Georgia Bulldogs, seats, I think, 98,000 people. You've almost filled up an entire Sanford Stadium in 10 days. And there is film and there is drone footage of camp after camp after camp in Mexico. Brandon Judd, who is the head in Mexico, people waiting to come in. Brandon Judd, who is the president of the Border Patrol Union, was talking about this today. He said this can be fixed. He said, just quit letting them come in. Don't let them come here to wait for asylum. Let them do their application for asylum, but stay in Mexico, stay in their home country. They would stop coming. I mean, he made this comment on a TV show right before me just the other day, and it was just so true. This is why I say the Biden administration does not know what to do with this. They sent troops a week and a half ago. They said they're going to send 1,500 troops down to do paperwork. They're not stopping anybody. They're just simply doing the paperwork to process them on through to the rest of the country. So, again, they don't want you to know what's actually going on. They don't want you to know that their work is basically failing, and they're making our country less secure. We can talk about this more as we're going on, but just to give you an example, away from the border, if we're talking about this, how does it affect the city of New York? Is shelling out $8 million per day to house migrants. $8 million a day. $8 million a day. Now, this is not doing anything with homeless people. This is not doing, with the normal problems. I mean, New York has enough issues in crime and subways and everything else, and yet we're doing $8 million a day to deal with, migrants. I mean, it's just stunning. It's just stunning to think about it. And then when this week, tomorrow, actually, the House Republicans will be passing their version of a border bill, which again, has a lot of good things. It has securing the border, it has other issues, but it has the Remain in Mexico policy in it. And the Biden administration, John Pierre, again, stunningly, just said he says he will veto the Republican border bill that would keep it Remain in Mexico in place and keep building the wall and allow migrants to be held in detention for longer than just 3 days at Title 42 expired. He said, I'm going to veto it. And yet, when asked about it, Jean Pierre would say that the Republicans need to come together and do comprehensive border reform. Okay, folks, I don't know about you, but comprehensive border reform means from start to finish, from the issue of are we securing our borders to how we deal with legal immigration, how we process people through in our immigration court system. If you're only wanting to do this into relaxing asylum rules and relaxing the ways that people get here and jumping in line of those who did this properly, that's not comprehensive border reform. That's just stupidity. Again, I made this over and over again. If you were to walk into your home or your basement and you were to see a flood from a broken pipe on a wall across the room, the question is what would you grab first? The water to turn it off, or would you grab a mop just to mop it and move it around? The Biden administration just has a mop and they're moving it around. That's all they're doing. They're not worrying about the spigot that's continually flowing and getting people. Again, and I won't, without just being, furious about this, which I am, and trying to be calm about this. We as a government, by this open border policy, and I'll say American government right now, is allowing the vicious abuse of these migrants coming in by the cartels. They're allowing the cartels free flow of drugs, and this free flow of drugs is killing people in our communities, in our neighborhoods, all across this country. If that doesn't fire you up, I can't help you. I can't. I don't want to hear your liberalism. I don't want to hear your, quote, compassionate argument. But if you think it's okay for those cartels and for us to allow it to happen, because we're allowing the cartels to bring them to them, and yet these kids are being trafficked, they're being they're killed, they're being put into, just the other day there was several, 20 or 30 found in a freezer, in a coal truck in 35 degrees, almost froze to death. You're seeing them put in the back of transfer trucks and others, and they're getting heat stroke. The kids are getting sexually trafficked. They're being molested. They're being raped. This is all there. And if you think this is okay, then continue to support Joe Biden and this open border policy. And don't tell me, well, we just got to be compassionate. We got to bring them. There's a proper way to do this. We're one of the only countries in the world that allow this. In fact, I'm trying to think of any other country that would allow this. We don't. We're again, and before you say that America is not being compassionate here, we bring in over 1 million plus new citizens every year. That's more than anybody else in the world. 1 million. 100,000 plus stadiums. Doing it legally. So again, don't hand me your compassion argument here. We are a compassionate nation. We do care. That's why we worry about this. But I'm tired of having my government be the ones that is facilitating cartels to do whatever in the heck they want to do. And Joe Biden, wake up enough to figure this out. I would just hope he doesn't know. That would be my hope. It would be sad to say that the president of the United States don't really understand what's going on at the border. But when he went down there, they sanitized it for him. Maybe, he's just ignorant or of what's going on, or maybe he does know, and then at that point it's just negligence. So folks, just wanted to catch you up to date a little bit on what's going on. We're going to hit this more as this progression goes. As one CBP border agent said, the dam is about to break. Well, the dam breaks tomorrow on Title 42. You're going to see more and more folks come in. And if this doesn't wake you up, if this doesn't cause the mainstream media to actually finally take this seriously and to start reporting on it, then I really don't know where we're going from here. Because if this isn't enough, what is? But we'll keep talking about it here on the Doug Collins Podcast. Glad to have you with us. Go to the DougCollinsPodcast.com. Hit that email button. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you have ideas for future episodes. And also, I've been getting a lot of requests lately for speaking engagements, and we're trying to fulfill those. We've got some great folks in North Carolina. Going to be up here on May 20th in Hendersonville, North Carolina, that evening with the Hendersonville GOP at their Lincoln Reagan dinner. We're also probably going to be going to Faith and Freedom up in North Carolina as well, and also got some discussion on places in Michigan and other places. But if you want to, just go right there to that website, hit the email button, and let me know about your event. I'd love to be a part of it. Take care. We'll see you next time on the Doug Collins Podcast.